Ba-ding! Hey everybody, my name is Marcus Stewart, and I've got a story to tell. It's about Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, and how they both got me into skateboarding, and also more importantly, got me out of skateboarding. Of course, hot off the heels of the announcement that we are getting a remaster of Tony Hawk's 1 and 2 coming bundled together later this year. In reality, it's more like a remake. It's not really a remaster. It's kind of a complete overhaul of the game. But I'm excited. I was a huge Tony Hawk fan growing up. I played the crap out of Tony Hawk's 1, 2, 3, 4, and I only played a little bit of Underground. That's about where I stopped. But if it wasn't for those games, I would have like next to no knowledge about skateboarding. Because going into them as a kid, I had next to no knowledge about skateboarding. Not that I ever disliked it, I was just always kind of indifferent to it. I can say with confidence that before Tony Hawk, the most famous skateboarder I knew was Bart Simpson. But then thanks to those games, I discovered Tony Hawk. I knew Bam Margera, which paid off later in Jackass. I remember when Jackass started, I was like, hey, that's the Tony Hawk guy. Hawk guy, not to be confused with Hawkeye. Bob Burnquist, love him. There was the one lady that was in the game, Matt Hoffman. No, wait, Matt Hoffman was BMX, right? All the skateboarders. Knew them all. Flawless. But yeah, I don't even know how I got into Tony Hawk, honestly, because I didn't have an interest in skateboarding, but somehow it came into my possession and I played the crap out of them. I love those games so much for the same reasons everybody loves them. They're fun, they're simple, but they still have a lot of depth. They're goofy. They just make skateboarding feel so effortlessly, pretty much almost to a fault. By that I mean that I got in my head that I could be a real skateboarder because I was good at Tony Hawk. Because I played the crap out of Tony Hawk 1 and 2 and was pretty... Don't like to brag, but was pretty good at them. I'd say pretty great. Getting all those skate letters, all that stuff, hitting 900s like they were nothing. Just real top tier talent here. But it got me to try skateboarding with some friends. I never owned a skateboard, but I would use their skateboards. They would do the kid thing of like setting up the crappy little ramp in the street, and I would go off of them and feel like a badass despite going maybe 2 inches off the ground. But I figured, hey, if I can do crazy kickflip stuff in the games, then skateboarding must be easy. It also didn't help that at the time, Rocket Power was on Nickelodeon. Where my 90s kids at? Of course, for those of you who don't know, Rocket Power was a really popular Nickelodeon cartoon that aired in like the late 90s, early 2000s. And it was about these kids that were all amazing at extreme sports, just inexplicably. Skateboarding, surfing, bicycling, extreme bicycling, I guess, street hockey, snowboarding. Like, they could do anything. It was uncanny. These kids were all little phenoms. Except for Sam, the squid. He sucked. He pretty much was the surrogate for the 90% of us watching that show that could not do any of those things very well. But I watched that show a lot, and that made everything that those kids did look really easy. So my obsession with the Tony Hawk games combined with my obsession with Rocket Power led me down this very dangerous road of thinking that I could do any big skateboarding stunt and pull it off, because I figured, hey, I have this combined knowledge of these two different extreme sports mediums. I know how to do it. And that led me to my first ever visit to a skate park. Actually, skate park is a pretty generous term. It was just a half pipe that was set up at a summer camp. Boy Scouts summer camp. Boy Scouts that are skateboarders, the most dangerous combination of things. There's no skateboarding merit badge though, I don't think. Maybe there is now. So yeah, I went to this half pipe and it was like a legit half pipe. It was pretty big. Or maybe I remember it being pretty big because I was a smaller human being back then, but still pretty big. So I decided I was gonna go down the half pipe without any formal training whatsoever because I was so good at Tony Hawk. Keep in mind at this point that I could barely stay on a skateboard for any sustained amount of time. That was the height of my skill. But I figured like, hey, you know, all you do is that you stand on the edge, right, with your board sticking out, and then you go forward, and then skateboarding just happens, right? At least that's how it works in the video games and on Rocket Power. So I went up there. Keep in mind that I was not alone. This was a pretty busy day. This was a Saturday, so there was about a good 25 to 30 other kids that all knew what they were doing much better than I did. But that didn't stop me. I went up there, set my skateboard up the way that I thought you were supposed to. Felt really cool, was ready to bask in my glory, and I took the plunge. And what a plunge it was. Instead of skateboarding, I pretty much just plummeted face first down a half pipe. Gravity worked overtime that day. Like, I literally just ate it. Probably ate it as almost as bad as you possibly could, going down a half pipe, just face first, nailed the side of it, and then like slid down to the middle with like on my stomach and face. At the end of it, I probably honestly looked like Peter Griffin when he fell down the stairs at one time, and it hurt. It hurt real bad. To this day, I'm kind of amazed that I didn't break anything because I ate it real bad. And this is why you wear helmets, elbow pads, and knee pads, kids. But honestly, as much as that hurt, it didn't hurt nearly as much as my pride did. Because again, I did this in front of the very judging eyes of legit skateboarders, just all in front of them. And it was one of those moments I remember vividly laying there and feeling every part of my body screaming at me. And it was one of those moments where it felt like time stood still, like everything froze for much longer than it probably really did in real life. I remember feeling pain and then a long period of silence, and then followed up by uproarious laughter from my skateboarding peers, my homies, my posse, my crew. They laughed their fucking asses off at me, which understandable. I mean, if I was a little kid at that time, I would probably laugh too. You know, this was the rule back then. When somebody got severely hurt in front of you, you didn't help them immediately unless maybe you were their good friend. You laughed first, and then if they are not up within the next 30 seconds to a minute of you laughing, then you go check on them like, ha ha, man, he just busted his ass. Seriously, you okay? Yeah, I didn't give them that long though, because turns out that being laughed at is a very it's a great way to spike your adrenaline. So despite feeling like my bones had been turned into jelly, I got myself up as quickly as I possible and did my best to try to play it off. And by playing it off, I just wanted to look like I was tough, because there's no way to play off like, you can't pretend that you didn't just fall like a good 6 feet on your face and just fall flat and almost die. But I could salvage it by looking really tough, so I got up and just kind of sped walk out of there, every movement I was making hurting a lot. And it was on this day that I officially formally retired from active skateboard competition. I don't think I've been on a skateboard since. Like, I legitimately can't remember a time I've ever stepped on a skateboard after this. Really shook my confidence, mainly in Tony Hawk. I thought Tony Hawk was the gospel. It felt like Tony Hawk had lied to me. I was like, why haven't I been playing Tony Hawk 1 and 2 religiously if I can't actually translate those skills to actual skateboarding? What are they trying to teach us kids about skateboarding? I thought it was supposed to be, hey, you can do this too, it's easy. Turns out not so much. And I guess Rocket Power also has a little bit of blood in its hands. Basically, I'm refusing to take responsibility for my own decisions. But to this day, it's probably still one of the most embarrassing things that has ever happened to me. And like I said, the Tony Hawk games, I love those games to death, but they got me into skateboarding almost as quickly as they got me out of skateboarding. So the lesson here, kids, is that believe it or not, you cannot do the things in video games as easily as you can do them in the games in real life. Don't do video games things at home, especially because most video games involve murder. Don't do that. Murder is harder than it looks. Actually, that's not the message. Don't do it because murder is harder. Just don't do it because murder is bad. Do not blame me if you are murdered by someone that saw this video and said, hey, Marcus said murder was easy, so I decided to try it. Though I guess you couldn't blame me, because if you were the victim, you would not be alive to blame me. We're gonna move on from this. That said, though, I am legitimately very excited for Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remaster. Hopefully they don't fuck it up, because the last few Tony Hawk games, they done fucked it up. Tony Hawk 5, Tony Hawk Remastered, Tony Hawk Ride. Remember Tony Hawk Ride? Man, I worked at GameStop. We had a lot of those dumb boards sitting around. Maybe that was the last time I've been on a skateboard. I remember standing on one of those things. Does that count? But yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers and toes crossed that those games are good, because the trailer looked amazing. Super pumped for it. Would love a good arcadey skateboard to get into again. A good arcadey skateboard game is what I'm trying to say. I don't want to get on an actual skateboard probably anytime soon. But maybe if these games are really as good of a remaster as I'm hoping it will be, it will have the same effect and make me think that I can climb on a skateboard and do a triple Lindy Axo 900 flippy doo-dah, dippity doo-dah, rippity day, my oh my, it's a skateboarding day trick, and bust my ass for realsies. Maybe I'll break those bones that I should have broke all those years ago. Here's hoping. But that's my story, guys. I'm sticking to it, and thank you for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you like listening to that nonsense, and be sure to check out my channel for some really fun stuff coming in the future, in the very near future, actually. And if you want to hit me up on my Twitter, I'm at MarcusStewart7. That's the number 7, to let me know your famous skateboarding stories. Have you busted your ass because of Tony Tony Hawk? Should we all be filing a class action lawsuit against Tony Hawk for our own stupidity? Let me know there. Tweet it to me. You can also check me out on Twitch. I'm at Marcus Streams Games. I usually stream Tuesday and Thursday nights. And you can check me out on my personal website, marcuswritesaboutgames.wordpress.com. So thanks for watching, guys. Be safe out there on your skateboards. Skate 6 feet apart from people and try not to go down a big ramp without knowing what you are doing. I don't recommend it. It does not end well generally. So enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good one. Hey, if you're a Sailor Moon fan or love anime in general, be sure to check out a podcast by Moonlight. It's the podcast where I and co-host Jack Gardner watch every episode of Sailor Moon for the first time ever. We give a play-by-play breakdown of each episode, discuss and debate theories for where the show is headed, and, most importantly, make a bunch of stupid jokes and idiotic observations for your listening pleasure. Every Wednesday, you can listen to a podcast by Moonlight on Spotify and Libsyn, as well as follow the official Twitter account at APB Moonlight to keep up with new content. Moon, Prism, Power, Makeup, and subscribe.